Welcome back. We have a very special treat for you this morning. We are going to be doing some wine tasting. We have the OC Winefest folks here. We have Chad Kearns and Sean McGee. Well, welcome you guys.
Well, thank you.
Nice to have you back.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us and bringing some delicious drinks for us today. So why don't we start off, Chad, tell us a little bit about kind of your history and how OC Winefest came about.
Well, we started our winery back in 2006. I started making commercial wine and ended up opening my wine tasting room and winery down here in Orange County back in 2011. In about 2016, Sean came to me and had this event facility, and we decided to start a third winery for ourselves, a stone's throw down in San Juan Capistrano. And then the LA wine folks came to us and wanted to start a wine fest down here in Orange County to mirror their LA wine fest. So that's how we came to be OC Winefest.
Right, and this is, how many years have you been doing this now?
This will be the second annual OC Winefest.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Yeah, we, to just give you some brief background on it, Dr. Joel Fisher's been doing the LA Wine Fest very successfully up in LA for about 14 or 15 years now. And so he approached me back in like 2014 and said, hey, I would like to do an OC Wine Fest. You know, you're on 3 acres down there, there's plenty of space, and I think it could be a great success. So we had some additional discussions and we agreed upon it, and then out of nowhere I kind of got slated to take over as the deputy commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 3 down in San Diego. So about 3 or 4 months into that tour, I got diagnosed with stage 3B lymphoma. So I spent the next 6 or 7 months going through chemotherapy, and I've had several clear CAT scans since then. And at the end of that treatment, well, thank you. At the end of that treatment, Joel reached out to me in 2017 and said, hey, Sean, do you still want to do the OC Winefest? And I said, absolutely, Joel, let's get this thing going. And so Joel always has a beneficiary when he puts on these wine fests. So in our group discussions, we said, hey, do you guys have any ideas? And obviously being a cancer survivor, I said, hey, let's have the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society as our beneficiary. Perfect. So last year we just had LLS as the beneficiary. This year we've added 2 additional beneficiaries.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes. We've added Kids Connected. Kids Connected is an organization that provides support to children whose parents are fighting cancer and going through chemotherapy. So a great fit. And then the other foundation that we started was the Swanner House Restoration Foundation. Okay. Because the Swanner House down in San Juan Capistrano is on the National Historic Registry. But the city doesn't allocate general funds to really rehabilitate that property and keep it in good condition. Okay. So we wanted to start a nonprofit so that we can help keep that property for future generations.
Yeah, we've spent the last 2 years in a lot of our own private funds putting it back together. It wasn't watered well. There was no irrigation system for the plants and things around the property. So some of the old plants were passing away. It's a historic orange orchard, Valencia oranges, and a lot of those were passing away because of the lack of water. So we've done a lot of work on that. Now we're turning our eyes back to the house. It hadn't been painted in a long time, so we color matched it to the original color and went ahead and rehabbed the paint. And now we're working on the inside. Somebody had put a carpet on the inside that was not era specific, so we went ahead and took up the carpet and refinished the hardwood floors upstairs.
Oh, that's great.
So it really looks looks fantastic. So we're still working on that, but you know our private funds only go so far, so we're kind of looking to raise some capital to go ahead and put that back into the house for the city.
Is the hope to have that open to the public at one time and have tours?
We do, yeah, we do
tours?
have hopes of having tours. We'll take people upstairs when we're open. We obviously use the house for our tasting room, but we will be giving tours of upstairs. We use it as a bridal suite right now for our events and weddings and things that go on.
Nice.
But yeah, we have plans on doing various educational tours and historic tours around the property.
Okay. Yeah, it's open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's unique in this sense. You know, when I told my mom about, hey, I'm going to invest in this winery, and she goes, well, where is this winery? And so I explained it to her. I said, hey, it's off the 5 freeway. And I explained that water tower. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it kind of comes up on an angle with a square box on top. And so she said, I know that property because when your dad was at MCRD in 1956, and I used to drive down from Fresno to visit them. The 101 or the one, whatever it was called at the time, went right in front of that property. So it's unique that she remembered that after all these years, just because of that iconic water tower.
Well, see, I think you need to keep that there so we
Yeah.
can all find it.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no plans in removing any
Yeah,
of that.
all right, good. So last year, the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society benefit, how did that go?
It went well. We ended up raising between LLS at the winery in itself, and then some corporate sponsors I reached out to, and then some other fundraising efforts off of OC Winefest. We raised just under $50,000
That's
for LLS
amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
for that weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to beat that number again this
Okay,
year.
okay.
And I know when we talked last year, I said, hey, one of the goals is that this becomes like a signature event, you know, kind of a legacy event, that we can continue to grow it, and so that year in, year out, the event gets bigger and we can help raise more money for LLS and now Kids Connected, right? Who
Right.
doesn't want to help find a cure for cancer?
Right.
So it's a great cause. But yeah, it was very successful, and I was very, you know, anxious about it because they say a couple things about the wine business, right? If you want to get rich, don't start a winery.
If you want to make a small fortune, start with a large one.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And if you want to get rich, don't do Winefest, right?
Right, right. Oh my gosh.
So we were pleasantly surprised. So I think over the 2-day period we had roughly 800 people show up
That's
for our
excellent.
first event.
That's
So
big.
that
That's
was
great.
excellent.
Good.
That's impressive.
So let's talk a little bit about this year's Winefest. What are some new things different from last year?
The layout's pretty much the same as it was last year, as far as you'll be covered, not standing out in the sun. We've got 5 food trucks and over 50 vendors, I believe. We have a few more wineries this year than we had last year.
Okay.
And we have a couple breweries coming, and I think there's one distillery that is coming.
Okay.
So a lot of different things going on. We've got a lounge area that's being sponsored.
How did you, I want to know, how did you get into the wine business? Have you been doing that for a long time, or is it just
What
an
I always tell
epiphany?
people is I like to drink wine.
likes to
But
drink
I went to school up in Northern California, and as being in school up there,
Okay.
Napa was in our backyard. I was just south of Lodi. I went to the University of Pacific in Stockton.
Okay.
Got a doctorate in pharmacy,
Yeah.
and a lot of chemistry background. And we would go help out in the wineries and be cellar rats on the weekends and things like that. So as I got out in professional life, I did a lot of the things that Sean experienced. I treated a lot of cancer patients, and I was involved in infusion back in the HIV days when it was
Okay.
not, particularly pleasant. The disease has changed significantly.
Right.
But I needed something that was relaxing to me, and wine tasting was where my wife and I always found ourselves. I could walk in the winery, I could walk on the vineyard, and it was just like my life melted away. And I always wanted to do that. So as I worked and became successful in my professional career, we started looking at having a winery ourselves. And we tried up in Paso for years and years, and I lost out to a lot of properties. I started looking when Paso only had about 29 wineries. They're approaching 400, I think, now.
Holy
Wow.
So, I just kept making full price offers on raw land, and a winery would come in and beat me out.
Wow.
So we kind of licked our wounds and came back down to Orange County, and I found this old historic horse ranch and have rehabbed it. And the interesting thing is Orange County was wineries and grapes before Napa existed.
Yeah.
Back in the 1850s, there were 47 wineries in Orange County.
Wow.
So Madame Majeska,
Right.
back in the 1860s, she spent $15,000 putting in a vineyard, which would be millions today in
Right.
today's money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great spot that you have your
Yeah.
winery, and it's really nice to go back out there and kind of get away from everything. So I noticed you brought some wines with you, so we would just love to taste some here on our morning show.
Oh.
What do you have for us?
Well, I have 3 wines. I have our Jirachi Chardonnay, which won some awards a couple years ago. I have the Stone's Throw Zinfandel, which just won a silver medal at the West Coast Wine Competition.
Okay.
And I have our Jirachi Ragazzo Grande, which is Italian for the big boy. And it is a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot.
Okay.
And that one won a silver at the West Coast Wine Competition as well.
Great, and you will feature those wines at the OC Winefest,
They
right?
will all be at the
Okay.
OC Winefest. We actually took 6 medals at that competition, and the competitions are just getting started. So
Okay.
that one's a big one. It's done up at the Sonoma Fairgrounds. So you're competing with all the big wineries
Wow.
up in Sonoma and Napa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was pretty happy with where we ended
Yeah.
up. Jirachi did win a double gold at that one for its Zinfandel.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and Chad on Saturday and Sunday is going to be doing a wine class too.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
do.
good.
OC Winefest does do seminars, and there's
Oh, okay.
there's a number of us. We're doing some food and wine pairings, and
good.
yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, while you're opening that, I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about the event and all the fun things other than what he said. I know there's going to be some music.
Yeah, so we are going to have 2 live bands during the event, and there's some other things that we're doing this year that we didn't have last year. So we do have a vendor that's a gourmet cheese vendor. So when people come to the event, that's included in their general admission, or if they're buying the premium ticket, that's included, so they can go and pair their different wines with the cheeses. And then this year also we have an additional, I think, like 16 life exhibitors that selling various products associated with wine, and so that'll be fun for people that they can shop. And then the other piece that, I'm sorry for looking at my notes, but I want to make sure that I cover this. There was the wine, food, and pairing classes that we talked about, and the tequila spirits, which Chad mentioned is kind of new for us this year. So I think they're like a boutique manufacturer. I don't know what you call a boutique manufacturer, someone who makes spirits. A moonshiner?
That's possible. Don't say that out loud.
Yeah. So if
They're doing it under the table.
Yeah, really, really. All right. So educate us on the wine.
This one, as I said, this one's a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot out of Paso. I sourced the grapes out of, this one is East Side Paso. And the Merlot that's in it is, I think, most people in Paso would say it's probably the best Merlot grape in Paso.
Oh.
So,
Let me ask you a question. You've been in this business now for about 10 years?
yeah.
Have you noticed, I've heard the alcohol content going up in wines, mainly because of we've had warmer weather, produces more sugars, more alcohol. It used to be that the Central Coast, Santa Barbara, was known for a little bit higher alcohol. And I can remember back then, mid 80s, mid 90s, they were like 13, 14%. Or up in Napa, you were like 11, 12%. But
Yeah.
I've seen a natural rise in all of them. Did you find that?
Yeah, we do find that. When you're watching your grapes ripen and you're getting ready to pick them, you're looking at a number of different things: pH, as well as the ripeness of the fruit from the seed, the alcohol content or the sugar content of the grapes, how many bricks it is, and we target between 24 and 25 usually to harvest, but keeping it at that level and waiting for the grape to get ripe, because if you take it off before it's ripe, you're not going to get the same kind of flavor profile fermenting it on those skins as you do when you're picking it when it's actually ripe. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
There are parts of our industry, there are people that are coming in and removing the alcohol from wine. You can have your wine either filtered and they can take the alcohol out of it, or spun and you can take the alcohol out of it.
This is
Cool.
very nice.
It
Now,
tastes delicious.
what I get out of this right away is I get cranberry.
Yep.
Yeah, right away I get
Just know
that.
so much about wine.
Well, and that's
It's
as I
excellent.
was talking to you off camera before we started.
Yeah.
I like to go for the bright fruits.
This is brighter than I would normally associate with a cab.
Yeah.
And I know this is a blend, but even for a Merlot, often they become kind of muddy, and this is not. This is nice and.
It sort of
nice
depends
and
on the
bright.
soil that it's grown out
Yeah.
too. This is the vineyard that this was grown at started out as a alfalfa farm, and they
Wow.
when Paso was getting built, they were one of the first places to start to plow under their alfalfa and start to plant grapes. So they've probably been going for 25 years.
Wow, that's great. Well, I want to thank you both. This has been excellent.
Yes, thank you.
Good luck with the OC Winefest. And I wanted to let our audience know that we have 2 sets of 2 tickets for you. So the first people to email us at Laguna Woods Village TV at gmail.com will receive 2 free tickets.
What was that?
So go ahead and do that. That's Laguna Woods Village TV Wait, Laguna Woods Village TV at gmail.com.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Thank you so much. It was
All
really
right.
nice to see you guys
Do you
again.
mind
nice.
if I thank our sponsors really quickly? Do we have
Well,
a
you
second
may
for
go
that?
ahead and do
Yeah.
that. Is-
Awesome, thank you. So I wanted to give a big thank you to our sponsors and affiliates, and that's Jaguar and Land Rover, A Stone's Throw Winery, Rancho Capistrano Winery, JA Event Productions, Sauté Magazine, Dish Magazine, Orange Coast Magazine, OC Wine Trail, OC Wine Society, Sparklets, HHC Roasters, and the Santa Margarita Water District.
Wow, you did a
right.
great job. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.